Investigators for the United Nations have uncovered atrocities, war crimes, and crimes against humanity are still being committed in Ethiopia. Now, this comes despite the 2022 November peace deal between Ethiopia's federal government and rebels in the Tigray region, which ended a devastating two-year conflict. Head of the UN-backed Commission of Human Rights experts on Ethiopia, Mohamed Chande Othman, disclosed that the conflict in the north of the country, and in particular in Tigray, has not been resolved, while the signing of the agreement may have mostly silenced the guns. He made the remark while presenting the report of a group which indicted the Eritrean troops and Amhara militia members of continuing to commit grave violations in Tigray, including the systemic rape and sexual violence on women and girls. Well, joining us to discuss this further, Liege Tedla Malaku is an author, activist, and also a member of the Amhara Popular Front leadership. He joins us via video link from Washington, D.C. Thank you very much for your time, Tedla Malaku.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on your program.
What are some of the misunderstandings that surround the root problem of this Ethiopian conflict in Tigray?
Well, I'd like to focus on the general conflict as opposed to just one region. It's very important to understand, first of all, to put it into context, that the root of the problem is the system, the political arrangement itself, known as ethnic federalism. And the Amhara people in specific have been accused of being dominant in history. The Amhara people played a central part in the building, the creation of the Ethiopian state, especially for the past several centuries. But then in the past 30 years and more, the Amhara people were accused of being dominant. And therefore, the ethnic federalism as a political arrangement was imposed in order to bring about said justice, but it resulted in ethnic conflict. The constitution itself breeds genocide, actually, and this conflict right now that we see mainly targeted Amhara people for the past 30 years. And in the past 5 years, that intensified. And different regions, the Ethiopian state was broken into 9 ethnic regions. And in several regions, the Amhara people live in all of these regions, but then especially in the Oromia region, the Amhara people have been targets. Regarding the Tigrayan people, the war that happened in northern Ethiopia was more of a power struggle between the TPLF, Tigray People's Liberation Front, and the Ethiopian Abiy Ahmed's regime. And that resulted in the suffering of Tigrayans, but the war was also moved to Amhara, and mass displacements, starvation, rape, and massacres also occurred in Amhara, in the Amhara region. But that was completely disregarded and ignored internationally, and the focus was only on the Tigrayan suffering. But yes, indeed, the Tigrayans also did suffer many casualties, but independent investigations are needed to understand what actually happened. But then the Amhara situation is what the conflict is centered on at this point.
Who exactly are the Fanos? How does the Ethiopian conflict also impact on the stability of the Horn of Africa in general?
Okay, so the Fanos are a popular force comprised of the Amhara people of all backgrounds. For example, well, historically speaking, the Fanos are the patriots, the Ethiopian people in general fighting against invaders and ensuring the integrity and sovereignty of the Ethiopian state. In the context of today's politics, the Fanos are the Amhara patriots of our time who are resisting the massacre and attacks targeting the Amhara people, especially by the current regime, Abiy Ahmed's regime. And they are a popular force comprised of farmers, doctors, engineers, military commanders, all kinds of backgrounds, but they're mainly Amharas. And what they're doing at this point is they're engaging in battles against the Ethiopian National Defense Forces in order to protect Amhara civilians from being targeted, and it's pretty much a war with a war that was opened on the Amhara people, and the Fanos are ensuring the preservation and continuance as well as existence of the Amhara people. Yeah.
Tell us some more about the APF.
Sure, the Amhara Popular Fano Front. So the leader, first of all, of this organization, Eskinder Nagga, is a known journalist who has won international awards, studied in the United States, went to the prestigious American university. His family lives in the US, but he chose to be on the ground, leading the people to struggle against the current attacks on Amhara people, the war on Amhara people that's being waged by Abiy Ahmed's regime. And the APF as an organization seeks to provide some degree of international representation for Fanos, because Fanos are a popular force on the ground, but then they need a political representation and also diplomatic wing. And it's in order to organize different factions of Fanos on the ground and ensure that the struggle of the Fanos hits the goal of justice, bringing about justice and protection, preservation of the existence of Amhara people at large.
Tedla Malaku, thank you very much for your time and for giving us, your take on the ongoing conflict in different parts of Ethiopia.
Thank you very much for having me.